Swashbucklers, you're listening to Under the Crossbones, episode number 118. My name is Phil Johnson. I am your host for the show. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thanks for telling your friends and all that kind of good stuff, and joining us on Facebook and doing the social media stuff. And you are the ones that helps me keep the old ship afloat here, so I very much appreciate you tuning in again. Episode number 118. Fun fact about the number 118, there is a TV show in Singapore called 118, 118, and it ran from 2014 to 2015. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that in that 1 year, there were 255 episodes. 255! How many episodes of Stranger Things did we get this year? Like 10? That was it. Like, American shows have so few episodes in their year now. Like 8, 10, maybe a dozen if we're lucky. The Singaporean show, 118, had 255 freaking episodes in 1 year. And then went off the air, I assume because they ran out of stuff to do. Because that's amazing. My guest on the show today is Corey Lefkowitz of Age of Discovery Productions and Pirates of the Silver Realm. And I ran across Corey and his crew at the NorCal Pirate Festival, I want to say 2 years ago, which I think was because I think I missed it this past year. But they have an amazing installation. I know you like to call it a camp or a whatever. I call it an installation. Why? Because it's art. That's why I call it an installation. But they've got an amazing setup that they bring to these festivals, and Corey is doing all sorts of cool stuff. He's bringing some birds into the act, and we're going to get into all that kind of stuff. Really great guy. You're going to enjoy this talk. It's a fun one. So we're going to get to that in a second. We have a new sponsor for the show. That is TeePublic. And TeePublic works with independent artists on t-shirt designs, and I have personally curated over 100 really cool pirate t-shirts for you to pick from. There are scary ones, there are cool ones, there are funny ones, there are sexy ones, and lots of pirate t-shirts. And I set up a personalized store for you to go check out to find yourself a really cool pirate t-shirt. And there's so many of them that I want to buy, and I'm slowly going to collect all of them, I think. And then I'm going to need more drawers for my t-shirts. But anyway, I know you're going to find something that you have to have too. Go to this website, go to underthecrossbones.com/shirt to see the shirts that I've picked out for you, all really cool pirate shirts from TeePublic. Again, that's underthecrossbones.com/shirt. Great time to do some early Christmas shopping. This week is Thanksgiving. It's not even early anymore. You're going to be late. So go to underthecrossbones.com/shirt, buy your favorite pirate some cool pirate t-shirts. So I had a cool weekend, mostly cool weekend. Saturday, went to see Tim Minchin. Now, I don't know if you know who Tim Minchin is. Tim Minchin is an Australian performer via London, and he's been living in Los Angeles for the last few years. He is a comedian of sorts. He is a musical comedian. He's a pianist. He's a songwriter. He is an amazing talent. If you do not know who Tim Minchin is, please go put his name in YouTube and watch some of his videos. And I've been waiting to see Tim Minchin for a good 5 or 6 years since I discovered him. And finally, I was able to be in the same city at the same time as him in San Francisco this past weekend and to catch his show. And it was so good. My girlfriend and I went. The only bummer of the night was that parking at the Masonic Auditorium cost more than the tickets did, which sucks. So Masonic Auditorium can kiss it for their parking. But Tim Minchin was amazing, and he's got this really unique type of show that would not work in, say, a comedy club or the places that I work, but this is definitely something that I aspire to because I think it's a great combination. He writes funny songs, he writes serious songs, he sings all of them. He sings both. He writes for musicals. He wrote the music for Matilda, the Broadway show, and the Broadway version of Groundhog Day, if you've seen either one of those. So he's doing lots of really great stuff, and it was just a really cool retrospective of stuff he's done in the past, plus some new material. I made me want to go home and write and practice, and that is always the sign of a good show. When I go to a show and I go home and I immediately pull out my notebook and start writing things down, that is a good show. So if you have a chance to see Tim Minchin in your area and you like amazing songs and killer piano playing and really intellectual, witty, funny humor, it's not for dumb people. It's not for dumb people. But if you like the intelligent humor, Go check him out. It was a bucket list concert for me. So that was really great. I hope to catch him again. And then Sunday we went to see Justice League, and I'm never going to get those 2.5 hours back again. That was a waste of time. Do not go see Justice League if you have not seen it yet. Continue not seeing it. I thought the movie, the dialogue in the film was very real life dialogue, because dialogue in real life is also usually badly written, not entertaining or very funny. And the reviews I was reading from regular people were like, oh, Flash is the good character. Flash is the funny character. Flash is the good, funny character in the context of the other characters who are very, very boring. Now, I like the Wonder Woman movie. Don't get me wrong. Wonder Woman movie was good. This is not a Wonder Woman movie. She's in it. Nice to see Gal Gadot again. But the character, pretty thin in this one, as are the other characters. And then, of course, you have Batfleck, Ben Affleck as Batman, who I've never bought anyway. I want Michael Keaton back, but he's too old for the part now. But it was, just don't. It was a drag. It was 2.5 hours of wasted time. Even the stingers at the end of the movie, like when you see a Marvel movie, you're waiting for the stinger at the end, and it's usually either a really good cliffhanger of what's coming up next, or it's a funny clip, like the shawarma from the first Avengers movie. Right? This one had 2 stingers. One tried to be funny, and the second one tried to be suspenseful for the next one, and neither one of them really panned out. So that was, I'm going to go see Tim Minchin again. Actually, seeing Justice League really made me look forward to seeing Deadpool 2. I'm not even a superhero movie guy. My girlfriend likes these movies, so I go see them with her. And if they've got some funny, good writing in them like Deadpool, then I'm all over it. Thor, the new Thor movie was good, but overall, I could do without the superheroes. I'm pretty well done with them. But I am not done with doing shows. No, got more shows this year. November the 24th, that's this Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. If you're in Oakland, California, come on out to Comedy Soup. That is a pop-up show, and all the address and everything is available on the website. Comedy Soup, November 24th, Oakland, California. December 1st, I'll be headlining at Ukiah Brewing Company in Ukiah, California. December 8th, I will be at the Courtyard of Andover in Andover, Minnesota, and December 9th, VIP Pizza in Superior, Wisconsin. And that's what I've got on the books right now. I got a couple other things brewing, and I'm trying to get back in the habit of sending out availabilities for gigs, because I have a very empty calendar, and that scares me when I have an empty calendar. But it was just because I've been too busy working on other things that we will talk about another time. If you're enjoying the show, come join us over on Facebook, facebook.com/underthecrossbones. Twitter, we're at undercrossbones, no the in that one. And of course, you can get all the show notes at underthecrossbones.com/118. Oh, and for the tour dates, go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button, because I didn't tell you where Comedy Soup is. It's a pop-up show, and it's in a different place every month. So anyway, go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the tour dates button. You can find out where Comedy Soup is this coming Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, on the November 24th, and I'll be there. Anyway, underthecrossbones.com/118 is where you can get all the show notes for this episode with Corey Lefkowitz from Age of Discovery Productions. Also, if you want to support the show, that would be awesome of you. Go to underthecrossbones.com/support. There's a PayPal box there. You can put in a donation of any amount that you would like. That's always nice. If you're doing your Christmas shopping on Amazon, click through that Amazon banner that's sitting right there. Go out, do all your Christmas shopping. I've already started mine. Got a thing from my dad. That's the first one out of the way. Click on that Amazon banner. Get all your Christmas shopping done with your Amazon stuff, and then Amazon kicks me back a few shekels. And that helps keep the show afloat. It's very nice. If you want to be a sponsor of the show, like TeePublic or Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast, it's very, very easy. Just go to underthecrossbones.com/support. Contact me from there, and I will get you set up. So let's do this. I've been sitting on this Corey Lefkowitz interview for quite a while, because it's just things were getting rearranged in the release schedule and all that kind of stuff. But Corey has been doing the pirate thing for quite a while now, and he has a growth strategy in place that he's working on. I think he's got some really cool plans for Age of Discovery Productions, and it was really interesting hearing about how he manages this company and where he wants it to go and all that kind of stuff, plus good pirate stuff. So there's plenty of pirate talk in here. You're going to dig it. This is my interview with Corey Lefkowitz of Age of Discovery Productions. Enjoy! So you are the, do you call yourself the proprietor of Age of Discovery or owner, or what's your title?
The captain of the group.
Captain. Oh, that makes sense. It's a pirate show, duh. And
I am the owner of Age of Discovery Productions, and I'm partnership with Lori Archer, who sort of is like my promotion person who does a lot of the PR, public relations within the crew. We had a falling out, and we started working together to reintroduce Silver Realm with something new that I'm starting.
Well, let's get some definition to it here first. I saw your stuff at the NorCal Pirate Festival last year, I think, when I was there, and you have fantastic stuff. But explain to everybody listening what Age of Discovery Productions is.
So, Age of Discovery Productions is the actual production of the Silver Realm. So, Age of Discovery is basically all my hard work for the last 30 years, all rolled up into one production company who gets contracted out to do various shows. Within Age of Discovery Productions, you have different levels of reenacting, whether it's a rendezvous, that's the fur trade mountain thing, or colonial, or your pirate era, Golden Age of piracy. And then within Age of Discovery, you have our crew, which is called Pirates of the Silver Realm.
Okay.
I'm also working on A Pirate's Life, that'll be a branch off of Age of Discovery Productions. So Age of Discovery Productions is pretty much what captions everything and how I work off of everything.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I have a company like that too for all of my stuff. So the display that you had set up that I saw was amazing. You have just a ton of like really great museum quality props and sets and all sorts of stuff. How long have you been doing this?
So I started out in the late 80s, right out of high school.
Okay.
I got into the whole Meltdown thing, and it progressed from there. I started doing like living history events, and then I started doing rendezvous, and then that led me into doing colonial rendezvous that had more colonial stuff mixed into the rendezvous.
Now explain a rendezvous to me, because to me that sounds like a French night on the town. But it's obviously not that here.
Yeah. So a rendezvous was a meeting point that the fur trappers had in 1825 to 40.
Okay.
It was a designated area where they all trapped. And so they have these living history events today, all through the 60s, that they do this like every weekend, just like they do pirate fairs. And they're just a living history event geared around the early 19th century time era.
Okay, interesting. And now how did you get into that part of it?
So I was explaining that. So when I moved to Tampa, Florida in 2003, that's when the first movie came out, the Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean Black Pearl. Black Pearl. Thank you. That came out. But prior to that, piracy was not really going on. There was a few places that had people dressing up and whatnot.
Sure.
But they had in 2002, I believe, I flew out to Tampa and then went down to Key West, and they had the Pirates in Paradise, and I was down there, and I got to see some pirates, and it pretty much mixes in with the colonial, late 1750 type of colonial reenacting.
Sure. And
it pretty much is the same thing, a few years earlier, and I was like, wow, I really like this. This reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland. So that's kind of like where the whole pirate thing started, was when I was in Florida.
Okay.
And then I ended up moving back in 2004 to the West Coast. And it just snowballed. I was already had a lot of cool stuff, and then I just started collecting more and more maritime type stuff. And then those effects is what you saw last year, is basically from 2003 collecting.
Oh, okay. Wow. So it's a substantial collection of stuff. Now it's all replica stuff. You don't have any actual artifacts, right?
I do have some original stuff mixed in.
Oh, okay.
I don't like bringing a lot of the stuff out because it's fragile.
Sure.
And I don't want a lot of people handling them. So most of the stuff, 95% of my stuff is a reproduction.
Okay. What kind of items do you have that aren't reproductions?
I have a 1750 long rifle from the French and Indian War.
Nice.
Yeah, the barrel and the lock. And then I have some earlier Queen Anne pistols. I don't bring those out. And then, just various smaller things, bags, accoutrements that I don't bring out, that are like on the wall at home, But like I said, most of the stuff is reproduction.
Sure.
We have some real cannons. I have a friend of mine that is part of the silver realm. He comes out with some real stuff too. And on all our guns, you can fire all of them. You know, everything I own is fireable. You know,
wow.
It's reproduction, but you can still fire everything.
Interesting. Now, at what point did it become less of just a guy collecting stuff and turn into a business?
It's always been. I've always gone to schools, and I've always gone to different events where people hire me to speak at their school or educational program or camp. And it's always been a business, but it became more of a volunteer. Let's have fun. Let's create a crew. You know, I was always helping everybody else with there was another crew I helped out for many years, and it just grew into where it was easier to have our own crew.
Okay.
And kind of create rather than going off another person, what they wanted, it became easier as things started to deteriorate with one crew, just to start another one. And it snowballed from there. It became a bigger picture. It was always about to try to make money, I'm in the transportation industry, to get out of that and to do this full time. And that's where I'm kind of going now with this new thing.
Excellent. Hey, can you hip us to any details on the new thing, or is that still secret?
Yeah, no, I absolutely can. It's a Pirate's Life. Age of Discovery Productions presents a Pirate's Life, and I'm mixing macaws and birds into a presentation show.
Neat.
Geared for adults and kids. And the macaws, I explain about how the macaws played a role in piracy. And the plan ultimately is to get a few more birds and to mix in the educational part of parrots in general with the Age of Discovery Productions. And I talk about the earlier buccaneering period from 1650 to 1700, and then from 1700 to 1730, the pirate round.
Okay.
So I kind of get into all that and why the pirates were out in the Caribbean to begin with.
Okay.
And, doing photo ops with the birds with the kids and dressing the kids up as pirates and becoming more of a photo op opportunity, also with a little bit of history behind everything. And not a show like you would go to SeaWorld, but more of a show of education about piracy and the birds. And that's what basically it's going to be about. And I like to travel doing it and going from not just staying on the West Coast, but going to the East Coast and the Midwest of actually presenting the show. I mean, nobody else is doing it. I figured, and I'm getting a lot of calls for it. And, also mixing in, birthday parties for kids with the birds.
Sure, yeah. And that seems like it would be a more year-round type of event that you could do, because the Pirate Festival scene is only a few months out of the year, really. And so that you could do lots of places all year long, right? Correct.
And that's the goal, is to travel around. The birds bring so much attention.
Sure.
And people are mesmerized by the birds. And, it's pretty impressive when you have macaws. And I mean, they just draw a crowd, and it's a lot less stuff that I have to set up by myself. Whereas when the Silver Realm, I mean, it takes 10, 12 hours with a dozen or more people to set all that stuff up.
Yeah.
So you have to rely on more people. Whereas this, I can do more on my own. And when there's NorCal Pirate Festival, then I do the crew thing mixed in with a Pirate's Life with the birds. And when there's not a big show, then I book shows throughout the country.
Right.
And then it gives me an opportunity to meet people and also experience the other different fairs that are going on, state fairs or school programs or pirate festivals or pirate renaissance fairs. So it opens the doors to a lot more things and gets my name out there. And also maybe I'll book a show with the whole crew somewhere a lot further than where we're going now.
Certainly. Yeah. It's a parallel to the way my career has played out, where I was playing with bands and I was like, hey, I'm going to go do some solo gigs. And now I do mostly solo gigs.
Correct. And that's pretty much the same thing. And that's a good way to put it, is solo. Is that, I'm adventuring solo with the birds, but the whole goal is to mix in the Silver Realm crew into certain things that we want to go do. So NorCal will always be a Silver Realm thing.
Sure.
I'm going to bring a solo act and then have the crew a separate identity. It's all Age of Discovery Productions, but you have Silver Realm over here, and you have a Pirate's Life right next to it with the birds.
Right.
And so it becomes a different show, and then the whole plan with Silver Realm was to always have different acts. So you have some musicians playing, or we have some games in the front of the encampment, where you add different elements to not just have people sitting around the encampment,
Sure,
looking good.
Right.
It does look good, but you want people doing more things for the patrons so that they feel like they're having, an experience. And that was the whole plan of Silver Realm.
Yeah, and so that's one thing I've noticed with the encampment thing at the festivals is you walk up and there's people sitting there and you go, that looks cool, but there's not always a lot of interaction that goes along with that. So what kind of, outside of, adding some music and things like that, what have you done with your sets that have brought people in to be able to sort of interact with it more?
Well, we talked to people up front by the podium, and I have a ship's log, and so people can sign the log and feel like they're being kind of part of the festival, like, wow, I put my name on the ship's log,
Uh-huh.
And then kids who draw photos or pictures in the ship's log, I give them, a Silver Realm sticker.
Nice.
So interacting that way, we're interacting with a pillory where you put people in the pillory and you close it, they do photos. And then we had one season, we had some games where it was like the blocks where you stack them up and then they fall over.
Okay.
You stack them so high. Jenga, it's basically like a big version of Jenga.
Right. Yeah.
And then we talk to them about a lot of the guns, and we interact, try to, people ask questions and things. And then we had other people playing music, or 4 people playing music in the front and singing. And then that was where I got the idea is that, you know what, I need to be more, not just the captain of the crew and watching everything. Just, you have to watch things from getting stolen because we have a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So I thought, you know what, maybe if I brought a parrot show into this, if I added a parrot, you get more draw. People would want to come over and see the parrot. Well, then if I did a show with the parrots, plus you have all this other stuff going on, it just mixes in. And then you can explain the historical part of piracy. And then they can see the weapons, and then people can ask questions. And it becomes more of a presentation lecture show. And then people do photos with the birds and things,
Nice.
So that's where I'm kind of adding. The birds are a huge draw. I mean, you bring the birds in, and I'm getting a blue and gold here, hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, and then she'll probably come home in January. So the whole goal is to add more birds. I'm actually trying to change the encampment into a shipwreck.
Okay.
Versus just what we've had. What you've noticed is that the whole plan really is to build a ship, the aft castle of a ship.
Okay.
Open, fillet it open, and then you would actually have seating areas, and you'd have an upper deck where people can actually do photos and they can come into it, and you'd feel like as if you're a part of this whole shipwreck scene. And you have the birds. So it becomes a whole, like, almost a little village within the festival. That's sort of where I'm looking at going.
That sounds really fun. Let's talk about the birds for a second, because I think everybody knows the trope of the parrot sitting on the pirate's shoulder, but I don't think anybody, including me, really knows what the significance of that is. So tell us a little bit about why they had the macaws.
Okay, so like macaws and parrots in general were traded, and they were brought from the New World, which would be the Spanish Main at that time, in the 1650s. Even earlier than that, it goes back to the late 16th century. Birds were brought into Spain and then on to Europe. Rich noblemen and people of money and power, they always wanted that edge, that cutting edge, and that leading thing. And the birds brought that edge. It was a way to show your wealth,
like a status symbol.
Yeah, it was a status symbol. Birds, they grabbed anywhere from 50 to 100, 150 birds, and only you'd have half of them would survive and the other half wouldn't. It was a hit and miss because of the ocean, of the long journey, 4 months at sea to go back and forth. So they would capture these birds as a status symbol, and only so many people could have them. Pirates walking around with parrots on their shoulders is more of a fantasy Hollywood thing that, Treasure Island.
Sure.
Robert Newton walked around in the 50s with the Treasure Island movie from Walt Disney. That's pretty much a fantasy thing. They had parrots, and they were traded, and there was the exotic animal trade is what it was called, and they were brought into Europe, but actually carrying them on a ship and things, they probably didn't do that, but they probably had one or two in a cage hanging, maybe a captain had one in a cage. Very possibly could have been, being that there's not a whole lot to eat off of them. So, it wasn't that, we're dying of meat. We have no meat.
Right.
They wouldn't cook up a bird. There isn't anything on it. So that, and they brought in a lot of money, and pirates like money. And not all treasure was gold. It was textiles, and it was other accoutrements off the ship that they could use.
Sure.
But the birds, they brought in a lot of money, and so why kill a bird when you can make a lot of money when you got into Europe? You got into the old world. You could sell these birds for a lot of money back then.
Certainly. Do you know what kind of prices they would have gone for back then compared to what they would go for now? Because I know they're not cheap birds now.
Yeah, no, they're not cheap birds now. And back then, equivalent of 20, 25, 30,000 in today's money is what those birds would have cost then. There are birds today that cost 10 to 15,000. Those are the highest, and those are the largest macaws. The birds that I'm buying are between 1,500 up to 35 to 4,000, which is still expensive per bird. But back then, it was supply and demand. There wasn't a huge supply of them, and there was a huge demand to have these bright-colored birds that could talk and that could mimic. And macaws are very playful, and so people wanted them. If you could afford them, and your high society noblemen could, your royalty could afford them,
right?
And they wanted them, and they exactly a status symbol.
Interesting.
But they were traded all along. Mexico and South America, Brazil, and exact areas that they were taking all this silver and precious jewels into the ships in Panama and going across the Caribbean and Atlantic into Europe.
Sure, yeah. Now, how chatty are your birds?
I only have Tova. I just started doing this. So
okay.
Tova is a green-winged macaw, and she's the second largest of the macaws. And she's very quiet. She's still a baby. I got her after she was hatched, and brought her home after she was weaned. Weaned means that she's no longer feeding on formula, where she actually eats on pellets or nuts.
Yeah.
And so I've had her just over a year now. She was hatched June 9th of 16. And she's very quiet. Like, I'm on the phone with you right now, and she's very quiet. You don't hear her. But she's a baby, and as they get older and more mature, they get a little bit louder.
Sure.
But she does talk. She just doesn't do it in public.
Oh, I see.
And like I said, the show is not about them doing tricks. It's more of them, how they played a role in piracy.
Yeah.
Then people can hold her. I put her on people. She's very tame and well socialized. So then people can take photos and, with the birds. And so she's not really chatty. She's more curious.
Oh, that should be really fun. It's a great extension to the stuff that you've already been doing.
Absolutely. And they played a role in piracy. They just didn't, walk around with them, but it's all about having fun at these shows.
Of course.
And when you get too serious in things, and it makes it boring.
Yeah.
And people just don't want to do things boring. They want to do things that are fun.
Right. And
95% of the people out there are not period correct. And it's just about having fun and learning. And that's where the macaws come in. Is it's going to be fun, yet a little bit historically correct, that they were out there, but they weren't treated like we treat them today.
Oh, that sounds like fun. So the fur trapping thing, what period of time is that centered in? I'm having trouble placing that in my head.
Okay, so the North American fur trade really started as soon as Europeans and Columbus hit, the New World, the West Indies.
Okay.
It started at that point. They were always looking for furs because in Europe, in those earlier times, they were depleted. A lot of furs were depleted. They were always looking for new furs. And they used the furs for the fashion, clothing, and at that time it was top hats and tricorns. Tricorns were called cocked hats. We refer to them today as tricorns, but they were called cocked hats. So they used a lot of the fur-bearing animals, mostly beaver at that time and otter. It has a very dense fur, and it's great for waterproofing.
Sure.
So they used the fur under this fashion. So it goes way back. And like I said, as soon as the Europeans, Spanish is who really, started sailing first. But you had the English and the French. As soon as they conquered North America, and even South America, but most of the furs came out of North America. And they started to buy and sell and trade for furs for the clothing industry in Europe.
Huh, okay.
Interesting. So it goes way back. Now, the rendezvous period, that's 1825 to 40.
Okay.
That's much later, and that was all in the Rocky Mountains.
Oh, okay.
And they were chopping for beaver. And around 1830, it started to decline because silk became the bigger fashion in Europe from the Orient.
Yeah, and easier to get.
So it started to die down, yeah. People weren't the top hats, fashions, they started making most of the hats out of silk
Yeah.
around 1840. So the whole dynamics changed, and there's a lot to it. I mean, piracy, the whole piracy, they were stealing furs and textiles coming from Asia, porcelain coming from Asia, India, a lot of the textiles and the spices coming out of there. So things were traded and things were stolen from these ships that were going in every direction. Slaves were a big part of it. There was capturing slaves were all through the Caribbean because of the rum was such in high demand. They were growing a lot of tobacco and plants issued with the things that we use, like rum. And there's just so many things that we traded and they stole within the Caribbean.
Yeah. So I would imagine that were you a history buff as a kid, or was this something that kind of came later?
No, I was always interested in history in high school.
Okay.
And it just kind of grew from there.
Because to me, it certainly, I'm a history guy too, but when I was in school, it was presented in a way that didn't make it fun. Did you ever run into that, and how did you get around it?
Yeah. So back in the early mid '70s, I went to the Girl Renaissance Fair in Southern California. My father and my older brother, we used to go there, and you got to see history more of a live show than in such a book. The books at that time were very boring.
Sure.
So you got to really see history alive. And so I've always liked U.S. history. And I started just to research different things. I got involved in the Native American, the powwow circuit that they did.
Yeah.
Or that they do. And it grew from there. I met somebody that did the Mountain Man thing and started asking questions. And, hey, come down here, check this out. So then I would go and check that out. And that's pretty much how you learn about all this stuff, is that you just meet people, and then those people refer you to different events.
Right.
And that's how it grew.
Yeah, it's interesting. My girlfriend and I used to go to a bunch of the powwows and stuff every time they were here. Because Indian tacos, why wouldn't you? So this accumulation of props and things that you've got, do you how do you acquire those? Are there certain people that you have as contacts for that stuff, or are you just kind of, if you see it, you get it kind of thing?
So there's different traders that sell different accoutrements, whether it's the guns or whether it's the cannons or just some of the furs that I have. Some of the stuff that we build. There's different traders and different people who build those things. Okay. And so being involved with history for so long, especially through the rendezvous, you start to learn who makes what. Okay. And so then you can go to those different people. All my clothing, since I was such a big guy, I have to have everything custom done. So people who sew or people who do the period. There's different looks. There's different clothing looks that you can go with, whether it's fantasy or historically correct. Or there's like Stitch Nazi correct, they call it. So there's different levels. Yeah. So you have different people that make different things, and there's higher quality stuff, and there's lower quality stuff. And so you start to build off whatever you're trying to do. Silver Realm was more or less started as a period correct group, but it grew into a fantasy and just encompassing everybody into one crew. So we have like fantasy, and we have myth and legend, and then we have period accurate, and then we all kind of like try to offer something for other people that are coming new into it. Hey, I want to join a crew. Hey, come on in. You don't even have to have anything. We can show you different ropes that you can go, different avenues, and that's what I want to do. I wanted to include everybody, whether you had an outfit or not. But this is what we can do. This is what I can show you. If you want to go period correct, then this is what you should do. If you want to go as fantasy, well, then maybe these are your options. So we want to include everybody, and then that's how the crew grows, and people want to do things. And then you become a team. Yeah, I like that. Very inclusive. That's great. How many people do you have in the crew? Is it fairly scattered, or are they kind of concentrated? Yeah, so we're based out of Nevada, Reno, but most of our shows are in California. Yeah. So we have people from all over California, a lot of people in the Bay Area and a lot of people in Sacramento, all the way down to Stockton. And then we have people that are from like Bakersfield area, all the way down into LA and a little bit into San Diego. Nice. So it's a mixture of people from the Rendezvous world, people from the Renaissance Fair world, and people from the pirate world. And so you kind of mix them all in together. And then when we do Northern California Pirate Festival, Then we have people from the general areas mix in there. If we go down Long Beach and do the Pirate Invasion Long Beach, then you have a broad band from people doing that. And from doing for so many different eras of time, you meet people who want to do that. The pirate thing is fantasy and adventure, and everybody loves that.
Uh-huh.
So there's a huge draw that you can pick from. And so we have up to 200, 250 members.
Wow.
And we're on Facebook, but not everybody goes to the same event. So NorCal Pirate Festival, Northern California Pirate Festival, we might have 80 people there.
Uh-huh.
When we go to Long Beach, we might have 60 or 70 people there. Sometimes you might have 200 people there. So there's a lot of affiliates. We have what's called active crew, and then we have just general crew.
Okay.
And your active crew, we have about 40 people who are active, who kind of go to whatever we're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Wow. 60, 80, 200. That's a lot of people for that encampment.
It is. It is.
That was.
But it's a big encampment, and NorCal Pirate Festival it's one of my favorite festivals. The only problem about it is that there's not a whole lot of room to expand.
Uh-huh.
And as much stuff as we have, it's crammed into a smaller area. And so you don't really, when you have everything crammed, it's hard to see everything.
Sure, yeah.
When you have things spread out, you can see a lot more of what we have, and the experience becomes better,
Yeah, I'm sure. I'd like to see one of your other installations at a different event to see how it changes.
Yeah. Long Beach is that way. Long Beach we have about 100 feet versus NorCal where you have 50 feet.
Oh, okay.
So you can spread out and you can add more things, and it becomes more of a, wow, this is a really cool encampment.
Yeah.
It's cool at NorCal, but it would be cooler if we had more room, and we simply don't.
Interesting. I've heard the Long Beach one is really great, and I've yet to get down to that one. I have to make a point to do that.
Yeah, the Pirate Invasion Long Beach used to be in Belmont Shore, and it's a fantastic festival. They're doing a really good job. Morgan Griffin is help running that show with Tolroy, and it was the first one last year, and it was a success. And each year is going to get better, and I can't say enough good things about it.
Nice.
I'm going to mix the parrot show within the Silver Realm crew down there. It'll be fun. And the most fun is when you answer questions. People have questions, and you answer the questions, and then they feel more involved in what we're doing. It's not like you just walk by the encampment, see a bunch of museum quality stuff, but you can actually feel the things, hold the birds, and then you feel like you're part of the show.
Yeah. Now that is a lot of stuff. Do you have a secret warehouse in the Nevada desert where you're storing all that stuff?
Yeah, actually, there's a secret place I keep the trailer. No, but it's a 30-foot trailer, double axle. It's about 15,000 pounds of gear.
Wow.
You can't just haul it with any vehicle. You need a dually or a pretty good size one-ton vehicle. It's a lot of weight to haul. And so my father 2 years ago got me a dually, which was a really nice gift that helped to be able to haul all this stuff.
Sure.
Otherwise, you can only take so much stuff and you can't grow. Eventually, I'm going to need a commercial truck to do all this. But like I said, the birds are going to be a huge draw. It's going to be advertising to where you can get more crew involved by traveling the country doing it.
Sure. Yeah, certainly. I have a horrible long story about getting a van full of band gear over those mountains going to Reno and back. It's too long a story. But yeah, I can understand how pulling a lot of weight like that over those mountains, you can burn out some engines.
Yeah. We had a problem 3 years ago with a motorhome. We had a motorhome and we were towing the trailer. The motorhome broke down, and it was nothing but a problem getting down to Long Beach.
Yeah.
But you learn from it. You load the trailer a certain way, and
right.
We have a Chamberlain Dory, a reproduction skiff that has rigging on it and a sail, and we're actually restoring that right now for the 2018 season.
Nice.
And that's a huge draw. We want to make that look more of a centerpiece within the encampment. So that gets hauled separately now, whereas we used to put that in the trailer.
Oh, I see.
That limited a lot of the weight that we could put in there. So now the trailer is fully loaded with everything, and it's packed from the front to the back. And a 30-foot trailer is pretty big.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at getting, probably like a toy hauler that I can stay in and then carry the birds that way and then be able to travel from show to show.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's a good idea. So
Yeah.
I know we're kind of late in the pirate season now, but what kind of events do you have coming up for the rest of the year?
Well, I just did a mall event with the birds a couple weeks ago. That was very successful. Then I have another Indian Fashions is a exotic bird club here in Reno, and they hired me to do a presentation for them.
Oh, neat.
And then I have a birthday party that I need to do. And then it's just pretty much November is a rendezvous in Red Bluff that I was considering on going to.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as any other shows, we're pretty much done this year.
Okay.
Everything starts again in spring.
Yeah. We're late in the year now.
Yeah.
So where's the best place online for people to keep track of what you're up to and come out and see your stuff?
So AgeOfDiscoveryProductions is a website that I have.
Okay.
PiratesOfTheSilverRealm.com is another website. But we're mostly on Facebook. You can hit both of those, Age of Discovery Productions or Pirates of Silver Realm, Battleborn. That's our group on Facebook.
Okay.
Or you just look me up and add me as a friend, and I will gear you in the right direction where to watch what we have coming up.
There you go. Cool. Well, I will make sure that is all linked up in the show notes so everybody knows where to find you and come out and see all the, because I remember the skiff and now I want to see the birds, and it's all very cool stuff. I really enjoyed looking at it when I was there last time.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for your time for coming on today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
All right, thank you.
You bet. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye-bye. And there it is, friends. That is my interview with Corey Lefkowitz of Age of Discovery Productions. You can find him at ageofdiscoveryproductions.com and all the links and all that kind of good stuff there. And of course, you can get all these show notes at underthecrossbones.com/118. We're sponsored today, of course, by Pirate Radio The Treasure Coast, WKKC-DB, playing the best music in pirate radio talk. You can listen to Under the Crossbones on both their stations. Just go to pirateradioofthetreasurecoast.com or pirateradiotc.com. And don't forget to download their apps. That's the Pirate Radio Treasure Coast app for the music station, and Pirate Radio Talk is their talk station. So go grab those. They got lots of good shows happening besides Under the Crossbones. And if you're listening to this right now on Pirate Radio of the Treasure Coast, thank you very much. Continue to tune in. And if you want to get this, if you want to get the shows downloaded even earlier on Tuesdays when they come out, just head on over to underthecrossbones.com with your favorite podcasty app, and you can subscribe from there. Or with Apple Podcasts or Google Play or Spotify. Now, finally got Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcast Addict, all those. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. Like a villain. But a good villain. I have an ebook for you. It's Alexander Exquemelin's Pirates of Panama or Buccaneers of America. This is a book that came out in 1678 and is the basically the journals of Alexander Exquemelin, who was a doctor, ended up on some pirate ships around that time, wrote about his adventures, and it's one of the seminal central pieces of pirate writing out there from that time period, and is contemporary to that period, 1678. So definitely worth a read. I've got a nice little ebook version of it for you. Go to underthecrossbones.com, click on the little ebook link, and you can grab it right there. If you're out and about and all you have is your cell phone with you, you can text the word pirate and your email address to 94253. Text the word pirate and your email address to 94253, and that'll kick you back a link to grab that ebook as well. All right, that is our show for today. Thank you once again for tuning in. If you want to find out more about my guest, Corey Lefkowitz, go to ageofdiscoveryproductions.com. If you want to get all the show notes for this episode, go to underthecrossbones.com/118. And if you want to find out about all the non-piratey stuff that I'm doing, or some of it, comedy, music, all that kind of stuff, you can come visit me over at philjohnsоncomedy.com. And that's where there's video and tour dates and albums and all that kind of good stuff over there. We've got some killer episodes coming up. Next week, we're going to hear from Jesse Wilkes of the Pirates Code Beard Oil, which I know you're thinking, really, we're going to talk about beard oil? Yeah, we are, and it's super interesting, and Jesse is a great guy, and it's a really, really fun interview. You are going to dig that one. We're going to hear from Bullet Valmont from Imagine Pirates, and yes, Colin Woodard from Republic of Pirates, the author of Republic of Pirates. You guys have been asking for him for 2 years now. I finally got it in the can, and we're going to listen to that in a couple weeks. So those are all coming up. Make sure you stay tuned, and if you anything you can do if to help the show is great, but the number one thing you can do is go out and tell your friends who aren't listening to it yet. that they too should tune in. The more the merrier. All right, I'll see you next week. Bye.